Where Alice go? It's streaming live too. The world can see us, guys. So watch your language.
Don't say anything dirty. You're on a speakerphone.
Somebody's got music going.
If I look in the top left of my screen, it says it's recording, so I'm wondering if Alice has already started us.
I
Oh, it
think
looks
she
like
might
her
have-
microphone is off.
Yeah,
Mine
her
says-
microphone is muted. I just sent her a text. She said yes. You
Okay,
can start.
Okay, we're gonna start then. Okay, we got a quorum. Bruce is here, Rennie's here, myself. And Mel, you're gonna be a voting member in lieu of the fact that we don't have any other members. So
Thank you.
you are. So first item on the agenda is the minutes of our last Zoom meeting that we held on April 2nd. Let's go on through it. I found nothing to be changed or updated. Any comments from the commission? Yeah,
Motion to accept the meeting minutes of May 16th.
I'll second.
Second.
okay, got a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, got that one done. Next item on the agenda. Old business. This is where Steve's coming in. You want to tell us a little bit more about the,
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
yes.
Linda is in. Do I still have a vote?
Yes.
Yeah, she's not, still, that's only 5 now.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
good.
just want to make sure.
Very good.
You're still in the party, Mel.
I'm so happy.
I knew you would be.
You didn't see me. I was here.
We had to unmute yourself. Whatever. This is fun. Steve, we're ready for your
Yeah, so this is the,
118 federal loan lot line revision, which, did everybody get a copy of that? I thought that was sent out in the packet that Alice Dew was delivering last week.
Yes.
Okay,
yes, it's that was the Caldor property.
right, that's the
Yeah.
Caldwell
Yes,
Jay's property.
correct. It's, the driveway on the left-hand side is the Bank of America. Yeah. So this property is on the right-hand side. Right. And it's a couple small pieces that were lots for basically forever. And BJ's owns all of them, or Samuel's Associates owns all of them. And they're just combining them to make 1 2-acre parcel, which would conform to the minimum lot area for that zone. I think they eventually want to market it to see if anybody's
Someday
interested.
they may want to do another commercial development on there.
Yeah, potentially, yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I reviewed it with my magnifying glass, Steve,
Yeah,
and I had no problem after I saw where the proposed lines were and what you're doing.
right.
I don't know how the rest of the commission did.
No, it looks appropriate. I'm sure because there's so much road frontage, I'm sure it's a very valuable piece of property once it's all put together. You can
Yeah.
do something significant with it.
The other thing is you gave us a lot of legal documents here, and I don't know if Tom Beecher's had a chance to review them.
I don't think so yet, John, so if you want to,
No, what I think we can do is we can approve the cut pending comments from us.
sign off from legal.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary for you to keep hanging in every week on this one.
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
Because it
Certainly seems like the property has had a long history.
sure does.
Yeah.
So I'll entertain a motion to accept the lot line change pending approval of the legal documents by our attorney, Tom Beecher.
Motion to accept the lot line revision pending attorney review of the pertinent documents by our attorney, Tom Beecher.
Second?
Got a second? Oh,
I'll
Alan.
second.
I think you were probably there first.
Yeah, you're not the voting guy, Al. Sorry.
Okay, it's all right. Hi, everybody.
Good afternoon.
So we got the second on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you, Steve, for your patience on this.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Next
Steve.
item is 37 Old Route 7. This is the one where we were complaining about the documents last week.
Mhm.
This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 two-family homes off of Laurel Hill Road.
Mr. Chairman, did we get a letter of opinion from the fire department?
No, but you got to remember, this is zoning. They only asked us to, comment on it. Okay,
Hey, John, this is Steve Sullivan again. I did get a letter from Fran Lally, from the fire marshal.
okay,
And basically, because we're extending the water main down Old Route 7.
Right.
Yep.
And there'll be, so there's a hydrant on the corner of Old Route 7 now and Laurel Hill, and then at the end, we'll put another hydrant. So there's pressurized hydrants there.
Yeah, you can see that on the first document page.
The fire marshal really had no comment other than just to make sure emergency access around that loop. It's like, there's a little loop road there.
right.
Just make sure that's maintained and open, which obviously, yeah.
Right,
The
okay.
only concern I would have is, do we as a planning commission have the authority to recommend or request that they kind of turn that into a access way that's more facilitates access by large pieces of fire equipment? I mean, for example, if you look on the very first page of the drawing set, you can see that in point of fact, the driveway widths are larger than the road they're abutting into. So I would say, or recommend, should we consider a recommendation that they remove the grass median and actually make a legitimate road for the town, cul-de-sac, minimum width, again, predicated on, you can, looking at the drawing, saying that in point of fact, the driveways are wider than the road itself.
Well, Rob recommend getting rid of the grass island, which I think we should.
We
pass.
already discussed this.
Yeah.
We
pass
did.
it.
Yeah, Ralph had recommended it at our last, I think, on-site meeting. But I think, it's painfully clear on page 1 of the drawing set, where you can see how narrow the road that the driveways actually conjoin. And,
Remember, that's one way there. That's
Yeah,
one
I
way
get
to that's one way to the west.
I'm just concerned that, if you need to get into that space, with a 60-foot long hook and ladder truck, I know
So
it's-
that truck can fit in that one-way area as well as the two-way area that's on the other side of the grass median.
Exactly. Is it within our purview to request that, a regular 28-foot road with concrete curb and a cul-de-sac turnaround be built as part of the approval process?
Ralph, what do you think?
I don't know if Steve might be able to answer this, but I don't know if there's enough room to build their cul-de-sac. The road is actually itself wider than most of our roads already.
Yeah,
And like Steve mentioned, that one road is kind of used as the cul-de-sac already. So people will pull in the main road, and then, for example, the garbage trucks will make a left-hand turn, simulating going around a cul-de-sac and come back out that smaller one-way road. I think that's
Is
the
it-
best we might be able to do. I don't think there's enough room to build a cul-de-sac. I could be
When I
wrong.
rode up, well, when I rode by it, I had no trouble turning, making the turn to go out, so
It's a pretty wide area at the end of the road. Yes, I agree. But it just seems that, in keeping with the general character of I know it's not part of the town center specifically, but keeping with the general character of kind of upgrading that area, it might be nicer if it was a, formal, concrete curbs and catch basins and whatnot, right? And I know it's flat. I mean, my wife and I drove up there a couple of weeks ago, and it's, you can certainly drive on the grass if need be. But
Yeah, I know with planning and zoning, they have regulations regarding the downtown district, and I don't know if that's formally part of that downtown
Right.
district, but when it goes to zoning,
that's
if
my
it is
point.
part of that,
Yeah, that's my point. I think it is outside of the formal town district, although it's, close to the edge of it. And it might be nice to, in keeping with the, the upgraded nature of the general area, if we could ask that some improvements be made. as part of
One
the-
thing that the
Just to
developer.
interrupt,
Oh, Ben.
sorry, Steve, it's in the TCD perimeter zone,
it
I'm
is.
fairly sure.
Yes,
so,
that's
when he
correct.
goes to zoning, he'd have to abide by whatever regulations they have regarding whatever upgrades are available, but I don't know if we could work outside of those things. That's a question not for me. I'm not sure.
Well,
if we could
during
have-
our pre-application meeting, it was requested that we run sidewalks along the site frontage, which we are proposing, and the lighting, and putting lighting like they have in other parts of the district.
Right, I
Yeah.
saw that.
We
I
have
saw that.
incorporated into the plans.
I think on the 5th or 6th page. Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're making an investment in upgrading the area, but still, I just get bent out of shape a little bit seeing the driveway width being twice the width of the road itself. And if, and I know there's only two, I think there's only 2 other houses on that road, so it's not like it's a busy thoroughfare or anything.
Right.
I think as part of the application, Steve mentioned they were going to try to turn that center island into some type of a landscaping feature.
Correct.
So it would look nicer than it is today. So it would
Mhm.
give a little buffer between the road, the big road, and the new homes.
Right,
And if you were to take that island out now, you're going to probably have a road that's almost 30 feet wide, which is a bit ridiculous for
I would
that
think-
area down.
I would think, Ralph, your guys probably use that island to store snow in.
Yeah, we probably push snow there already, although along the right side of the road, there's nothing there. They probably push a lot of the snow to the right, and then push the snow from that one road probably out maybe to Laura Hill, or they might even push it in towards the right-hand side going in. But
Yeah.
there is a lot of empty space along the right-hand side going in, and that road, like I said, is much wider than it needs to be. So even if they plow a 20-foot swath, you still have a shoulder over there that's probably 5 or 6 feet deep. So there's plenty of room to push snow.
So Ralph, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I have a question. There is enough room for a fire truck or a garbage truck to make the left turn?
Correct. So they would
Okay.
go up the west side,
the north side.
the north, yeah, I think that's actually the west side, and then loop around to go on the east side, around the grass island.
And vice versa, because if the fire truck has to come in closer to the house, then it
Yeah.
will make the right turn.
Right.
Yeah, I think in reality, if there was a fire, the truck was just going to come in and access that
Well-
road straight on. I don't think it's going to waste its time looping around. It's just going to come in and access those
Right.
homes from whatever way it can.
I agree with you, Ralph,
Straight
but
down the road.
my concern was the reverse track that they could come out.
Yeah, I guess once the fire is out, I would imagine if they can't navigate that turn there, they would have to back their way out. But in reality, if somebody was just going to navigate through there, it would probably be a question Steve would need to answer as a design engineer. But I would imagine they could, if they were just going to go in there to navigate the turn, I think in theory they could probably navigate that turn.
Okay,
And if you look at page 3 of the drawing set, you can see the road topology. I mean, it's basically, the median is flat and the 2 roads are basically at the same elevation. So it's not really an issue of, if you had to drive over the grass, barring,
No problem.
there's no trees there anyway, so, you could make a U-turn over the grass if it.
So Ralph, are you saying that the recommendation that you gave at the last meeting, you're willing to modify it and go back to the park idea?
Well, I think we did talk about it at the last meeting, and we kind of went with Steve's idea at that time. I made the original recommendation to take out the island. Then at the last meeting, we talked about it a little bit, and then Steve told me they were going to turn that into a landscaping feature, and then we agreed to move in that direction.
Okay, fine. So I think we can wrap this up, guys. I think my other concern was make sure that they're going to do the sidewalks and keep the character of the area, and that's in the plan already.
Right.
And I
And
mentioned,
John, I did add the blasting notes to the plan. Your subdivision blasting notes.
God bless.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, there appears to be on the site a lot of rock where the first two, at least where the first two, maybe three buildings are. There's a pretty significant rock outcropping.
Okay, so the blasting language is in, and I think we resolved the road with the park. So these comments should be passed on. Well, these comments should be passed on to zoning, because that's what our review says, and we have no reason to oppose the project. The modification will make it a more desirable project.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Bruce, want to give me a motion and say comments that we've just made that be passed on to zoning with the.
Yeah, motion to provisionally agree to the subdivision of 3707 predicated and including the comments that we just had at the meeting.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
No seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstains? No. Okay. We're
Okay.
done. Thank
Take
you,
care.
Steve. Right.
Have a good one.
You
Thanks,
too.
Steve.
Stay healthy.
You too.
All right, we've done items A and B. Now we're for item number C. Alice, is anybody going to join us from zoning on that or not?
I'm sorry, from where?
We asked zoning, this is the thing that Nina Mack sent us out about the floating adult zone.
Right.
Such as Danbury.
Yeah, we sent a
It was
memo.
really just,
Yeah, I know-
We
Go ahead,
sent I'm sorry, we sent a notice to Eric Cook and,
Timmerman, I thought.
right, Kurt Timmerman. Yeah, thank you. And there was no response, so I don't know that they have a meeting the same time, relatively that you do. So I don't know if they were able to jump over here.
Okay. Well, my only concern with this is we seem to have a lot of senior housing in Brookfield in construction right now. This floating zone seems to be aimed at senior housing, at least over 55 housing. And I don't know how many places in town would actually meet their requirements, because it's got to be a 10-acre minimum zone, and it's got to have sewer and water access. So I'm really wondering why they're actually considering it. If Danbury wants to do it, no problem for me, but.
John, this is Alice. Basically, Eric Cook and the zoning commission said the same thing. And it's, just informational really that the neighboring town is doing it, just food for thought.
Okay, if it's food for thought, that's fine. I don't know whether we want to do it in our town, because one thing I didn't like about it was that the floating zone, once you start doing it, it supersedes the zoning regs that are in place. So it starts to smell a little bit like 8-30G. And And we all know how popular that is with everybody.
Yeah,
Not
right.
me. So, what were they asking? Let me get the note here and read it. They want us to review the attached correspondence received from Clay Danbury. Okay. I think my comment would be is we have no problem with Danbury doing it, but I don't think it's appropriate at this time for Brookfield, maybe down the road.
Okay.
Okay, want to send those comments to zoning? Have I reflected the commission's thoughts on this? If not, let me know.
I consent.
Yeah, it makes sense to me too.
John, as long as we add to the comments, the reason why we're saying that.
Go right ahead. I'm saying it. I already discussed why I'm saying it.
All right.
We got a lot of active over 50. The other thing, folks, that you may not be aware of, over 55 properties, very difficult to sell once they're up because it's a much smaller demographic that you're going after. So I always look at projects which are age restricted.
Are you talking about the initial sale, John, or resale?
Resale?
Well, really both, right?
Yeah,
Would have to be both.
Sales,
The demographic base just isn't that large.
yeah, it ends up becoming the Heritage Village issue, and a lot of those buildings, because they have they ended up with very high common charges and problems getting people in there after people want to get out. Values of those are way down. So anyhow, that's my feeling. I think we already, I think I beat it to death right now. Are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Ready?
Ready, okay. Oh, oh yeah, did you guys read the WPCA stuff? That's interesting reading. But Candlewood Lake and all the good stuff that's going on over there. Sounds like down the road they want to put sewers over there. Their study came up showing that 28% of the properties are too small for cold compliance septic systems.
That's what happens when you have 1/8 of an acre zoning.
Yeah.
John, they're responsible for their own, aren't they?
Yeah, but the part of the problem is when you go through the report is a lot of them have pump up systems, and even though those are failing, they just don't have enough room to take care of the effluent. They have to pump them practically every year. I mean, the report that the WPCA put together is quite revealing about the water quality and the sewage system problems over in the shores. So I think this probably will end up being one of the big projects in this town down the road.
Mr. Chairman, though, is it not they took an economic decision, the owners, to take that all under their own responsibility because, of course, they felt they had an economic benefit. Now that there is an economic potential liability to them, why should the town absolve of that particular, in that increased liability?
Well, in the end, they pay for it. The town fronts money, but the money gets paid back. That's usually what happens.
It's not a town liability, it's just a loan.
It doesn't become a town liability issue.
Right.
However, from a health and safety point of view, nobody wants to have, they were even mentioning that some of the wells are having some problems with contamination.
Numbers creeping up.
No, and I get that because then, of course, that's a bigger problem. It impacts homeowners that are outside of that district, that area.
Right.
But I guess the thing is that if the town ultimately will help them out, then it will actually impact our borrowing ability right? And that's a wider town resident issue than just the local. So just saying, it's something to think about.
It also impacts our ability to connect other areas of the sewer system because in general, Danbury is getting up in capacity. So hooking them up may preclude offering the service to another area in town.
Mhm.
It's got a ripple, to your point, it's got a ripple through other area potential impact on other areas.
Yeah, well, they just forwarded us the study. They didn't really ask us for any comments, but it's a study that we should keep in mind, especially as we go forward down the line, doing the updated plan of conservation and development, which we're going to have to do in probably about a year or so. Now that we saw that Westcog has got their thing going, but nobody knows where it stands with this COVID issue. Anyhow.
Mr. Chairman, I think the only thing we should do if we'll table this and keep our eye on it is to keep in mind that perhaps they have a shared economic benefit in it, and that if there's going to be an impact on the town in terms of borrowing and having to put in infrastructure and investment towards it, then or even bonding in some way, that we certainly make sure that they share the pain.
Oh, they'll share the pain.
Right.
I'm sure.
Get their $15,000 so hookup assessment.
Yeah,
The problem is it's not a trivial area. It's not like a
trivial.
12-unit subdivision we just talked about. It's 300-400 homes. It's a big area.
Sure.
I did the census a few years ago over there, and I tell you, it was a lot of walking.
It's a lot of buildings.
Yes, it is. You don't realize it until you walk it.
It's deceiving how large the community actually is.
It is very.
Trust me, I know. I walked it.
Yeah.
Ask the kids at Halloween.
Oh yeah. That's where everybody goes.
I'm going to move on to the next item, which is minutes of other commissions and boards. First item on there is, let's see, I got the March 12th zoning commission minutes. Zoning, March 12th. Saw something here, I think, or did I? Yeah, okay. Delmar Drive. They're talking about, they approved the storage of classic Corvettes in a 1,600 or 1,500 square building down in Delmar Drive. Very interesting. Classic Corvettes. Oh, there was a slight mistake in that. They spelled Corvettes with a small c.
How dare they?
That never deserves a small c. Corvettes has got to be a capital C.
Bold.
They approved it on the stipulation that oil be kept caught if they needed it. And then they had in their discussion of what we just discussed, 37 Old Route 7. They discussed in that meeting. And their public hearing actually is tonight, the 23rd of April. So our comments are going to be getting in there after the fact. Any other comments on the March 12th minutes? If not, I'll move on to the next. April 9th minutes of the zoning commission. I saw something in here. Oh, yeah, well, we had the regulations that we discussed at our last meeting for Fran Lally on streetscape and accessory uses and parking. They discussed those things. They also had the discussion on the apartments on 87 Federal Road, which is up beyond, it's near where Peters is. Peters, yeah, whatever they call Peters Place, right up in that area.
Peters Imports.
Yeah, well, I think it's across the street. It's close to
Across the street from Mel.
close to
Yeah.
you, Mel, and and Newberry Woods, Newberry Village. Anyhow, they're talking about putting up a mixed-use building with 8 two-bedroom apartments and 4 commercial space. And they were speaking to the application, and let's see, they're gonna, it's been
No,
continued.
excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yep,
What they're talking about is between Riverview and Newberry on the
right,
same side,
same
not
side.
across the street, not the enclave.
No,
The old barnyard?
you might have been the
No.
old barnyard
In
somewhere.
between Riverview and Newberry Village.
Yeah, okay,
Where there used to be a nursery in there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, a couple of private homes, one commercial zone.
Yeah, it's commercial, so they're talking about a mixed-use building there coming in, so I thought that was interesting.
Any thoughts on that?
It's acceptable.
You don't want my thoughts.
Well, actually, we do.
Too much. I just think it's too much growth in that particular area. Because then you're going to have the enclave coming in. You're going to have Green Acres coming in soon.
Right? 3 big developments.
Yeah. So it's just my own personal,
Well,
opinion.
No,
Yeah.
it's valid. So,
it's valid for that area. That's where we had set it up.
That's it.
Mhm.
Area.
Uh,
What?
It is what it is, as they
It
say.
is what it is. We got minutes from the zoning board of appeals from April 6th, and I went through that, and nothing really jumped out at me. It was pretty much a business as usual type of meeting. A lot of residential people want sheds. That's pretty much sums that meeting up. Anybody see anything they want to discuss on that set of minutes, the April 6 minutes of zoning board of appeals?
no,
Hearing none, we'll go on to inland wetlands. And as you know, over the last few meetings, we've been tracking the development of the 45 obtuse rocks, 4-lot subdivision. Looks out like not going to happen, guys. We won't be seeing it. They made a motion to accept a letter of withdrawal for 45 Rock subdivision. So it's not going to be a subdivision. It may be a single lot before it's all over. That's what jumped out at me on that one. Now we're moving on to correspondence. And we had a letter to Nelson and to the Board of Selectmen saying we supported the sewer extension on Federal Road. So, we also had 2 letters to zoning on those regulation changes, accessory apartment standards and parking lot standards. And we had a request to zoning to discuss the active adult residential floating zone, which obviously they didn't do. So that's correspondence, and I think we're just about at, let's see. All my papers mixed up here, but I think we're at informal discussion. There's nothing new to report on plan of conservation and development, although we should keep the sewer situation for Candlewood Shores in mind when we do update that. Anything for informal discussion, other than how we love Zoom meetings?
I got to say the commute time to the meetings is really
Yes, the
really
commute
small.
Yes, and if it's raining, we don't have to wear it.
It allows Bruce to have a late dinner right before the meeting.
or after.
Or after, right?
We could have a glass of wine on the slide.
Well, yeah, that's true.
The end of my dinner. I sat down for dinner about 7:15, so
Oh gosh.
yeah.
Burp.
It's been, working from home is not a break. It's
No.
I think everybody's getting a little bit stir crazy at this point.
well, now they're talking about, at least in Connecticut, middle of June. Not
Mhm.
So school is dead for the year. And it
Well,
looks
school is dead anyway.
exactly.
However, I got good news today. My golf league is going to start at Candlewood Valley Golf Course on May 7th. They are opening the course on the 30th of April. They do have a bunch of restrictions going on, such as one person per cart, 6 feet apart on the
One man in the tee box at a time.
one man in the cart.
Really?
So you'll be 4 carts if you force them, you'll be 4 carts.
That gets some more revenue.
Yeah, well,
Well, that's one way to push up the.
and you guys stay 6 feet apart, and they're playing with the holes where it's like only an inch. So if the ball goes when the ball goes into the cup, the bottom of it's been raised to 1 inch below the top, so that way your hand doesn't go all over the place when you pick it. So
They're looking out for you, Mr. Chairman.
yeah. So, but that's a sign. Things are coming back slowly but surely.
Mm.
Guys, I'll be able to get your hair cut. I don't want to have my wife.
Sorry. I think we have to take our time.
And my wife doesn't want to dye her hair again. that was a fiasco.
I was growing a beard, and finally I shaved it. I see Alan grew back his.
Yeah, it's going.
You have to look good for, though. You're sitting at home.
Yep, it's true.
Well, I was encouraged.
Linda's. Are you about ready to make your motion?
Linda, go for it.
She
I
made a
second.
motion.
To adjourn.
You got a second?
Aye.
No second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, everybody stay healthy.
See you in
You
May.
too, sir.
2 weeks.
Have a good night.
Be safe, everybody.
Aye.
Night, guys.
Thanks, Ralph.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.